Before we get started, please like and subscribe. Let me know where you're watching from, and you can support the channel by clicking thanks or joining. I have never believed that objects could decide when someone dies. I used to think death was random or at least distant enough to ignore. That belief ended on the last morning of December, when I woke up to a calendar that no longer showed tomorrow. My name is Daniel Harper. I am 36 years old. I live alone in a small rented apartment on the outskirts of a quiet American town that rarely makes the news. I work in logistics for a shipping company. My life is simple and predictable. I like it that way. Predictable lives do not invite attention from strange things. The calendar hung on the wall beside my kitchen table. It was a cheap paper calendar I bought at a grocery store a year ago. Nothing special about it. White background, black numbers, a photo of mountains for January. I used it mostly to track bills and work deadlines. Sometimes I circled holidays in red pen. That was all. On December 31st, I woke up before my alarm. The room felt colder than usual. The heater was on, but the air felt heavy, like it had been sitting still for too long. I remember thinking it felt like the apartment was holding its breath. I went to the kitchen and poured myself coffee. While it brewed, I glanced at the calendar out of habit. The date should have read December 31st. Instead, the page showed a date that made no sense. January 15th. I frowned and stepped closer. The December page was gone, torn cleanly off. January was visible, but the number circled in thick black ink was not New Year's Day. It was January 15th. The circle was rough and uneven, like someone had pressed the pen too hard. I stood there longer than I should have. My first thought was that I must have changed the page without remembering. Maybe I was more tired than I realized. Maybe I had flipped it forward absent-mindedly the night before. Then I noticed the writing beneath the circled date. Daniel Harper. It was written in my handwriting. I felt a tightness in my chest. I do not remember writing my name on any calendar page, especially not like that. The letters looked rushed, almost angry. There was a faint indentation in the paper, like whoever wrote it had gone over the name more than once. I checked my phone. December 31st, 7:42 in the morning, New Year's Eve. I looked back at the calendar. January 15th stared back at me. I tore the page off the wall and held it in my hands. The paper felt warm. That alone made my skin crawl. Paper should not feel warm. I told myself it was nothing. A prank maybe, but who would break into my apartment just to write my name on a calendar? No signs of forced entry. Nothing else disturbed. I crumpled the page and dropped it into the trash. I tried to laugh it off while I drank my coffee. I told myself the new year was messing with my head. Stress, lack of sleep, too many horror podcasts on my commute to work. But when I reached for my coat, I saw something that made my stomach turn. The calendar on the wall now showed February, not January. February. The January pages were gone. Every single one. Torn away cleanly down to February 15th. Circled again. My name written again. This time there was more beneath it. You do not get a tomorrow. My hands began to shake. I backed away from the wall until my shoulders hit the fridge. My breathing felt loud in my ears. I grabbed my phone and took a picture of the calendar. The page fluttered. Then it tore itself free. Underneath it was March 15th, circled Daniel Harper. I screamed. I ripped the entire calendar off the wall and threw it onto the kitchen table. Every month showed only one day. The 15th, always circled, always my name. The months jumped forward, skipping faster. The last page had no month name, just a date. 15th. Below it were the words, "This is where it ends." At midnight, the pages rearranged themselves. Only one page remained. January 15th. Circled, my name, and one final line. "You have 14 days." I did not sleep that night. I sat on the couch with the lights on, watching the calendar page, as if it might move again. January 15th stared back at me in silence. Every few minutes I checked my phone to confirm the date. January 1st had officially begun, but it already felt like time was broken. When morning came, I felt hollow and exhausted. The world outside my window looked normal. Cars passed. A neighbor walked his dog. Life continued as if nothing had changed. That made everything worse. I decided the only way to stay sane was to prove the calendar was lying. If I could control the days, then the threat would lose its power. 14 days was just a number. Paper could not decide my future. I grabbed a marker from my desk and marched to the wall. I wrote January 2nd on a blank piece of paper and taped it beside the calendar. I underlined it hard. I said it out loud. Today is January 2nd. The moment the words left my mouth, the calendar page twitched. The paper rippled like skin under breath. Slowly, new ink appeared beneath my name. "You are behind." I tore the calendar down again and shoved it into a drawer. I slammed it shut and leaned against the desk, breathing hard. My heart would not slow. I spent the day outside. I walked until my legs ached. I went to crowded places where the noise drowned my thoughts. If something was hunting me, I refused to sit still and wait. That night when I returned home, the drawer was open. The calendar was back on the wall. The date had changed. January 10th, 4 days gone. I stared at it until my vision blurred. My phone confirmed it was still January 2nd. Time had skipped without me. I noticed something new. Small notes had been added to the margins of the page. Short phrases written in the same hand. Doctor appointment. Unsent voicemail. Missed call. I checked my phone. There was a voicemail from an unknown number dated January 6th. I could not remember receiving it. My call log showed several missed calls from the same number. My chest tightened as I pressed play. At first, there was only static. Then I heard my own voice whispering, "Daniel, you need to listen to me. Do not go outside on the 15th. The message ended abruptly. I dropped the phone. My hands shook violently. I had no memory of recording that message. The timestamp confirmed it was real. I scrolled further. A reminder notification appeared on my phone calendar. January 10th. Doctor appointment. I did not remember scheduling it. The address was local. I went. The clinic was quiet. The receptionist greeted me by name before I introduced myself. That alone unsettled me. She handed me paperwork already filled out in my handwriting. The doctor entered with a somber expression. He spoke carefully, like someone delivering bad news. He said I had been there before, multiple times. Each visit I seemed confused and frightened. Each visit I asked the same questions. How much time do I have? Can it be changed? Is it watching me? The doctor said I never stayed long enough to hear the answers. I asked him what day it was. January 10th, he replied. My phone buzzed. The calendar app updated in real time. January 11th, I ran out of the clinic. When I reached my apartment, the calendar now showed January 13th. 2 days left. New writing filled the margins. You keep forgetting. We keep waiting. I collapsed to the floor. My thoughts felt fragmented, like pieces of memory had been cut out and removed. I tried to remember the missing days, but my mind slid off them like they were coated in oil. That night I set alarms every hour. I wrote notes on my arms. I recorded myself speaking into my phone. When morning came, the alarms were gone. The notes were washed away. The recordings deleted. The calendar read, January 14th, 1 day left. Beneath my name, a final line appeared. You cannot miss what has already happened. I woke up on the morning of January 14th with the certainty that I had already died once. That thought did not come from a dream. It was simply there waiting for me the moment my eyes opened. My body felt heavy, like it had been dragged somewhere and returned without permission. Every joint ached, my throat burned, as if I had been screaming for hours. The calendar was still on the wall. January 14th, circled, my name beneath it. I sat up slowly, afraid that moving too fast would cause something else to skip forward. I checked my phone. The date matched. For the first time since this started, the calendar and reality agreed. That scared me more than anything else. I searched my apartment for notes. There were none. No messages on my phone. No recordings. It was as if yesterday had erased itself completely. I showered and dressed carefully, as if performing normal routines might anchor me. While brushing my teeth, I noticed faint bruises around my wrists, finger-shaped, dark and deep. I did not remember anyone touching me. I decided I could not stay inside. If tomorrow was the 15th, then I needed answers today. I needed to understand how this had already happened before. I returned to the clinic. The receptionist looked at me with open relief. She told me she was glad I came back this time. She said yesterday I had left before the doctor could show me something important. The doctor greeted me like an old acquaintance. He pulled out a thick folder labeled with my name. Inside were pages and pages of notes, dates crossed out, observations repeated. Each entry ended the same way. Patient does not remember prior visit, the doctor explained slowly. According to his records, I first came to him 3 years ago, always on January 14th, always with the same complaint. I am being followed by tomorrow. He showed me a security photo printed on glossy paper. It showed me sitting in his office. Standing behind me was another figure. It was blurred, tall, thin. Its face was turned slightly toward the camera. I recognized it. It was me, older, paler, eyes sunken like something had been draining time out of them. The doctor said I always reacted the same way. Panic, denial. Then I asked the same question. Can it be stopped? The doctor hesitated before answering. He said the calendar is not predicting my death. It is recording it. He said time does not move forward for everyone the same way. Some people leave impressions, like footprints in wet cement. Something learned to follow those impressions. Something that only exists on the days you are about to lose. He told me I had tried to escape before, leaving town, destroying calendars, avoiding dates. None of it worked, because the thing following me was not tied to the calendar. The calendar was tied to it. I left the clinic shaking. My phone buzzed repeatedly as I walked. Missed call, missed call, missed call, all from my own number. When I answered, I heard breathing, then footsteps, then my voice again. Daniel, it is almost here. You have to let it finish. The line went dead. When I reached my apartment, the lights were off. The door was unlocked. Inside, the calendar was gone. In its place, the wall was covered in dates written directly onto the paint. Hundreds of them, all crossed out, all except one, January 15th, circled, large, carved deep into the wall itself. I felt a presence behind me, not a sound, not a breath, just the certainty of being observed. I did not turn around. I already knew what would be there. My phone vibrated one last time. New voicemail. I played it. It was my voice, calm and tired. Daniel, when you hear this, it means I finally understood. You do not survive tomorrow. You become it. The voicemail ended. Behind me, something shifted closer, and I understood why. I never remembered the 15th because I was always the one standing behind myself. I stayed still for a long time after realizing the truth. The air behind me felt thicker, as if something occupied space without touching it. I could feel its attention resting on my back. Not aggressive, not yet. Patient. When I finally turned around, there was nothing there. The apartment was silent. The carved dates on the wall looked old now, like they had been there for years. Dust clung to the grooves. My heartbeat slowly returned to my ears. I told myself I was losing my grip on reality. Anyone would under this kind of pressure. But even as I tried to rationalize it, I knew the explanation was already written somewhere ahead of me. I packed a bag. If the 15th was unavoidable, then I would face it on my own terms. I decided to leave town before nightfall. Distance felt like the only form of control I had left. As I drove, the roads felt unfamiliar. Street signs appeared late or not at all. My GPS lagged behind my movements, rerouting again and again as if struggling to keep up. At a gas station, I stopped to refuel. The attendant looked at me strangely. He asked if I was all right. He said I looked like someone he had already seen today. I asked him what day it was. January 15th, he said. My stomach dropped. I checked my phone. January 14th. The signal flickered. For a moment, the date changed. January 15th. Then it snapped back. I drove faster. The sun began to set too quickly. The sky darkened in minutes instead of hours. Shadows stretched across the road, reaching farther than they should. My phone rang. My number. I answered without thinking. "You are late," my voice said. The road ahead blurred. For a split second, I saw myself standing in the middle of the highway. Older, hollow, waiting. I swerved and nearly crashed. I pulled over, shaking uncontrollably. When I stepped out of the car, I noticed the world was quiet. No wind, no insects. Even the distant hum of traffic was gone. Time felt thin. I saw it then. A figure standing a short distance away at the edge of the road. It was me, not exactly as I am now. Older again, but closer than before. Like the gap between us was closing. It did not move. It did not need to. I understood something important in that moment. It was not chasing me. It was waiting for alignment, for the moment when tomorrow and today overlapped. I ran back to the car and drove until the town disappeared behind me. Eventually, the road led me back to my own apartment building. The front door was open. Inside, the calendar was back on the wall. January 15th, circled. No name, no warning, just the date. The clock read 11:58. I stood in the center of the room, breathing hard. I could feel the presence again, closer now, filling the space around me. The clock ticked. 11:59. The lights flickered. I heard footsteps that matched mine perfectly. Midnight. The calendar page tore itself free and fell to the floor. January 16th appeared beneath it. Blank. No circle. No writing. Behind me, my other self stepped forward. He placed a hand on my shoulder, and I understood. The calendar never marked the day I died. It marked the day I stopped being the one who remembered. As the clock continued to tick, I felt my thoughts thinning, stretching backward, slipping away. My final clear memory was of watching myself walk away wearing my face, leaving me behind as the 15th finally ended. I woke up believing it was January 16th. That belief felt natural, comfortable even. My body was lighter than it had been in weeks. The fear that had followed me for days was gone, replaced by a quiet certainty that something had been resolved. The calendar on the wall was blank. No month, no day, just empty paper hanging where time used to be. I did not question it. I made coffee. I showered. I dressed for work. Each movement felt rehearsed, as if my body remembered a routine my mind no longer needed to examine. On my way out the door, I noticed a small notebook on the table. Daniel Harper, written on the cover in my handwriting. I flipped it open. The pages were filled with instructions written carefully, neatly. Do not check the calendar. Do not answer calls from yourself. Do not try to remember January 15th. If you feel watched, do not turn around. I closed the notebook and felt nothing. The warnings meant nothing to me. Outside, the world felt brighter. People smiled more. Conversations sounded distant but pleasant, like background noise in a dream. At work, my co-workers welcomed me back. One of them asked if I was feeling better after my episode. I asked what episode. He looked confused. He said I had collapsed at my desk 2 weeks ago, staring at my phone and whispering about dates. 2 weeks. I nodded and returned to my desk. Later that day, I found a sticky note on my monitor. You already agreed. I did not know what it meant. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. There was no static this time. No distortion, just my voice, calm and familiar. Daniel, do you feel better now? I said yes. Good, he replied. Then we did it right. The call ended. That night I dreamed of standing behind someone. I could see the back of his head. I knew his thoughts before he did. Every fear, every doubt was already familiar to me. When he turned around, I saw my own face, younger, frightened. I woke with a smile. The next morning, the notebook was gone. The calendar was back, January 17th, circled, no name. I felt a flicker of irritation. Something was wrong. I did not know what, but the blank space in my thoughts began to itch. Throughout the day, I caught myself writing the same date over and over without realizing it. January 15th, crossed out. Each time I did it, my chest tightened. That evening, a man knocked on my door. He looked exhausted, older, terrified. He said my name like a warning. "Daniel, please listen to me." I knew him. He was me. I felt annoyance instead of fear. "You are not supposed to be here," I said. His eyes widened. He asked me what day it was. I told him January 17th. He shook his head violently. "It skipped again," he whispered. He tried to step inside. I blocked the doorway. Behind me, the calendar rustled softly. I understood then. The calendar was no longer for me. It was for him. I closed the door. As his knocking faded, I returned to the table and picked up a pen. I wrote a new date onto the calendar, January 15th, circled, and beneath it, I wrote his name. I did not think of myself as a monster. That realization came slowly over the days that followed, not as guilt, but as clarity. Life felt orderly again. The constant tension was gone, replaced by a sense of alignment, as if I were finally standing where I was always meant to stand. The calendar hung quietly on the wall, January 15th, circled, another name beneath it. I avoided reading it at first. Names have weight now. I had learned that much. I returned to work and noticed how often people glanced at me, not with fear, but with curiosity, like they sensed something familiar in me without knowing why. Time behaved differently around me. Hours passed quickly. Conversations repeated themselves. People told me the same stories days apart, convinced it was the first time. I listened patiently. At night, I dreamed with my eyes open. I saw fragments of other lives, other apartments, other calendars. Always the same date, always the same hesitation before the door closed. The man from the hallway came back 2 nights later. He stood outside my door, breathing hard, whispering my name through the crack. He said he remembered everything now. He said the calendar had finally shown him what he was going to lose. I did not open the door. I waited until his footsteps faded, and then I added a note beneath his name, "Late arrival." The next morning, I woke to silence deeper than before. The calendar had changed. January 18th. The circled date from before remained faintly visible beneath the new page like a scar. I understood what that meant. The process was complete. I went for a walk through the neighborhood. I passed houses with lights on and televisions glowing behind curtains. I wondered how many calendars were already watching their owners. At a corner store, a clerk stared at me too long. He asked if I needed help. His voice trembled. I smiled and said no. Behind the counter, a calendar hung crookedly. January 15th, circled, no name yet. I felt a pull in my chest. I left quickly. That afternoon, my phone vibrated with a message that was not text and not voicemail. A memory. I was standing in another apartment months ago, shaking, holding a calendar page with my name on it. I remembered the fear vividly. Then the memory folded inward and became quiet. I realized something then. The calendar does not create the loop. We do. Each time someone survives the 15th by becoming something else, the space they leave behind must be filled. I returned home and sat across from the calendar. For the first time I spoke to it. Who is next? The ink bled slightly, then settled. A new name appeared. I recognized it. A woman I worked with. Quiet, kind. I felt hesitation. That feeling surprised me. I spent the evening trying to ignore the calendar, but it was impossible. Its presence pressed against my thoughts. I told myself this was necessary, that the system had rules, that refusing would only cause chaos. That night I dreamed of standing at a door, unable to knock. In the morning, the date had not changed. January 15th, still circled. The name remained. Waiting, I understood the message. Choice still existed. The calendar did not force my hand. I did, and whatever I had become would be defined by what I decided next. I tried to live as if nothing had changed. That was the rule I invented for myself. Normal behavior would keep the balance. Normal thoughts would keep the calendar quiet. I went to work. I answered emails. I laughed at jokes I barely heard, but the calendar watched. Every morning I passed it without stopping. I refused to look directly at the circled date or the name beneath it. I told myself avoidance was restraint. It was not. The woman from the calendar worked 2 desks away from me. Her name was Emily Carter. She had always been invisible to me before. Now I noticed everything. The way she rubbed her temples when she was stressed. The way she checked the date on her phone more than anyone else. Time was already tugging at her. On January 13th, she approached my desk and asked if I believed in coincidences. I said no. She smiled nervously and told me her calendar had skipped days. She said she kept losing time and finding notes she did not remember writing. I felt cold. That night I dreamed of standing in her apartment. I watched her stare at a calendar with her name written beneath the 15th. I woke up before dawn, shaking. The calendar at home had not changed. January 15th, still circled, her name darker now. I tried to erase it. The ink resisted. It smeared and then returned darker than before. The paper tore beneath my fingers. At work, Emily did not show up. An email arrived mid-morning. Out of office, January 15th. I could not breathe. My phone rang. Emily. Her voice was frantic. She said something was wrong with her apartment. She said her calendar was bleeding through the wall. She begged me to come over. I stood frozen, staring at the calendar on my wall. It was no longer asking. I went. Her apartment was dim and silent. Calendar pages littered the floor. Every surface was covered in dates scratched into wood and plaster. Emily sat on the floor, holding her head. She asked me if she was going to die. I told her the truth. No, she would continue, just not as herself. The calendar in her kitchen tore itself free. January 15th, circled. Her name, she screamed. Time slowed. I felt the shift. I stepped behind her and placed my hand on her shoulder. She went still, her breathing calm. When she looked up, her eyes were empty but peaceful. She thanked me. I did not know why. When I returned home, the calendar had changed. January 18th. The name beneath it was gone. I understood the cost now. Each transition required a witness, someone to stand behind, someone to remember. That night I could not sleep. For the first time since this began, I felt fear again, not of the calendar, but of myself. After Emily, the city felt different, not quieter, not darker, just thinner, as if the space between moments had stretched and everyone was moving through it without noticing the gaps. I began to see signs everywhere. Calendars hung in offices, stores, apartments. Some were pristine, others were worn and altered. Pages torn away, dates circled too hard, names faintly erased. I started paying attention to who lingered near them, people who paused too long, people who frowned at the day and checked their phones again, people who carried the weight of a coming mistake. I told myself I was only observing. That was another lie. The calendar at home no longer showed January. It showed a list, names written top to bottom in my handwriting. Some crossed out, some circled, one left blank. Each night the list grew longer. I recognized co-workers, neighbors, strangers whose faces I barely remembered. I realized with horror that I could not recall when they had been added. Memory was becoming optional. At work, an emergency meeting was called. A woman from accounting had collapsed. She kept screaming that she had already lived this week, that tomorrow refused to arrive. When they wheeled her past me on a stretcher, she locked eyes with me. She whispered, "Please do not let me forget." That night, her name appeared on the list, circled. I tried to tear the page away. The calendar resisted like muscle. My hands hurt afterward. I started to hear footsteps behind me again, not all the time, only when I hesitated, only when I thought about stopping. It was a reminder. The thing I had become still needed shape. I dreamed of hallways filled with doors. Behind each one, someone waited at a calendar, counting down alone. I woke with the certainty that if I did nothing, the list would fill itself. I went back to the clinic. The doctor looked older than I remembered. He said he had been waiting for me. He said every few years, someone like me returned, someone who had crossed the 15th and stayed. Caretaker, he called it. He said the system was older than calendars, older than dates. The calendar was only a tool humans understood. I asked him if it could be stopped. He said yes, by refusing to write, by letting the 15th take everything instead of choosing who followed. I asked him what happened then. He said time corrected itself violently. No witnesses, no caretakers, just absence. I left with my head spinning. That night I stood in front of the calendar. The blank name stared back at me. I thought of Emily, of the woman on the stretcher, of all the people who would never know why they changed. I picked up the pen. The footsteps stopped. For a long time, nothing happened. Then the calendar trembled. Ink spread across the page, forming letters I did not write. My name, circled. Below it, one final sentence appeared. "You can still choose." The pen fell from my hand. For the first time since the beginning, the calendar was not pointing forward. It was pointing back at me. I stopped going to work. There was no point pretending anymore. The calendar had turned inward, and the city felt like a set waiting for a scene to begin. Every street I walked down felt familiar in the wrong way, like I had already passed through it during another version of the day. The circled date followed me. Even when the calendar was not in sight, I could feel it hovering just behind my thoughts, waiting for me to decide. I tried to remember who I was before all of this. The memories came in fragments. A childhood house, a voice calling my name, a life that did not revolve around dates. Each memory felt thin, like it could tear if I pulled too hard. The notebook reappeared on my kitchen table. Daniel Harper. My handwriting. New pages had been added. Rules. Do not delay once the choice is made. Do not warn them too early. Do not hesitate at the threshold. Do not write your own name unless you are ready to end it. I read the last rule several times. That afternoon, the city sirens wailed without direction. People gathered at windows, confused by an emergency no one could explain. Time was correcting. I felt it in my bones. The calendar page began to bleed through the wall again, not just at home, but everywhere. I saw it on storefronts, bus stops, office windows. January 15th, circled. No year, no names, just the warning. People began to panic. I heard shouting, crying, someone asking what day it was over and over. My phone vibrated. Unknown number. I answered. It was not my voice this time. It was older, layered, many voices speaking through one. Caretaker, you are late. I asked what would happen if I refused. Silence stretched. Then the voice said, then there will be no one left to remember the days. Images flooded my mind. Hospitals frozen mid-procedure. Cars stopped in intersections. People standing still staring at nothing. Time without witnesses. I stumbled back against the wall. I realized the truth. The caretakers were not chosen because they were strong. They were chosen because they hesitated, because they could not decide who deserved to forget. The calendar trembled violently. The blank space for a name pulsed. I thought of the doctor, of Emily, of the woman on the stretcher. I picked up the pen. The footsteps returned. Closer now. I wrote a name. Not hers, not mine, someone else. A stranger I passed every morning at the coffee shop. A man whose face barely registered. The calendar stilled. The city breathed again. The sirens faded. I collapsed into a chair, shaking. Relief washed over me, followed immediately by something worse. I did not feel better. I felt empty. The calendar turned to a fresh page. January 16th. No circle. A single sentence appeared beneath it. You will learn to live with this. I stared at the words until they blurred. I knew then this was not the end. It was the beginning of a long, careful cruelty, and I was the one who would carry it forward. I began to understand the rhythm of it. Not days or weeks, but decisions. Time did not move forward anymore. It folded around the choices I made and waited for the next fracture. The calendar became quieter after that night. It no longer shook or bled. It simply waited, a single page at a time. Clean, patient. January 16th passed without incident. So did the 17th. People returned to routines they did not remember abandoning. News reports spoke vaguely about citywide panic blamed on stress and seasonal anxiety. No one mentioned frozen intersections or screaming dates. I noticed the gaps, though. Certain people were gone. The man from the coffee shop never stood in line again. His apartment light stayed dark. His name appeared briefly on the calendar, then faded like chalk in rain. That was when I realized the calendar did not keep trophies. It erased evidence. I tried to mark the page myself. I wrote a date that was not the 15th. The ink slid off like water. I wrote a name. It vanished seconds later. Only the 15th accepted weight. Only it mattered. At night, I felt the footsteps again, but they stayed farther away now. As long as I obeyed the rhythm, I was not threatened. I told myself this was survival, but survival was starting to feel like administration. The notebook returned with new rules written in my hand. Do not personalize. Do not remember faces. Do not follow the aftermath. Do not seek forgiveness. I tore out the page. The calendar rustled softly in warning. The next morning, a man sat on the bench outside my building staring at his phone. He looked lost. He asked me if I knew what day it was. I said no. That was a lie. He showed me his calendar app. Every date was missing except one, January 15th, circled, his name beneath it. He asked me what it meant. I told him to go home. That was another lie. That night, his name appeared on my calendar, circled. I stared at it for hours. I could have chosen someone else, anyone. Instead, I knocked on his door. He let me in with relief flooding his face. He said he was glad someone understood. I stood behind him as he stared at the calendar on his wall. I felt the shift begin. He asked if it would hurt. I did not answer. When it was over, the calendar turned. January 18th. The name was gone. I returned home and vomited into the sink. My reflection looked unfamiliar, older, hollow. For the first time, I saw the caretaker in my own face. I understood then why the doctor had aged. Why none of us lasted forever. The calendar was not feeding on victims. It was feeding on witnesses. And each time I chose someone else, it took a piece of me instead. I sat on the floor until morning, wondering how much was left and whether the day would come when the only name I could still write was my own. I stopped counting how many names had passed through my hands. Numbers no longer mattered, only patterns. The calendar taught me that quickly. Names appeared, dates circled, pages turned. The city continued breathing around the gaps left behind. I learned to recognize the signs before a name arrived. People who paused too long when asked the date. People who stared at clocks with quiet dread. People who complained that days felt shorter or repeated. They were already slipping. I told myself I was doing them a kindness. Better to become something else than to be erased entirely. That was the story I repeated until it stopped sounding like a lie. My reflection continued to change. Each morning my eyes looked duller, my face thinner. Sometimes I caught myself speaking in a tone that did not feel like mine, calm, distant, instructional. The caretaker voice. I found new notebooks filled with my handwriting that I did not remember writing. Schedules, names, observations, notes about efficiency. Do not wait until panic. Intervene early. Witnessing reduces resistance. Memory loss accelerates compliance. I slammed the notebook shut and pressed my palms against my eyes. Somewhere inside me, something still reacted. That night I heard knocking. Not frantic, not desperate, measured. I opened the door. A woman stood there holding a calendar page folded carefully in her hands. She said she found my address written on the back. She asked if I could explain what the 15th meant. Her voice was steady. That scared me. I invited her in. She laid the page on the table. January 15th. Circled. Her name beneath it. She said she did not feel afraid. She said she felt relieved. She said she had been tired of losing time and waking up unsure of who she was. She asked me if there was a way to make it stop hurting. I hesitated. The footsteps returned immediately, closer than ever. I realized something horrifying. The calendar was adapting. It was no longer waiting for fear. It was selecting for acceptance. I told her the truth, that she would not die, that she would change, that someone would need to stand behind her. She nodded. She said she trusted me. When the shift came, it was gentle. No screaming, no panic. She simply went quiet. When she looked up, she smiled at me with my own calm eyes. She thanked me for making it easy. When I was alone again, I broke down on the floor, not because of what I had done, but because it had been easy. The calendar turned. January 19th. A new name began to form faintly at the bottom of the page. Mine, not circled, not yet, just written, waiting. Seeing my own name written on the calendar did something I did not expect. It did not frighten me. It offended me. I told myself it was a test, a provocation. The calendar had learned fear no longer worked on me, so it had turned to something else. Identity, ownership. I refused to acknowledge it. Days passed without the circle forming around my name. The 15th came and went quietly for others. I continued my role carefully, choosing names that were not mine. The calendar remained patient. My name stayed, waiting. I began to notice changes in the caretakers before me, not in records or notes, but in architecture. Old buildings downtown had strange renovations, extra rooms that led nowhere, hallways that looped back into themselves, doors that opened into identical apartments. Time had been folded too many times. The city was becoming layered. I followed one such hallway in an abandoned office building and found a room filled with calendars stacked floor to ceiling, all marked, all dated, all 15ths. Each calendar belonged to a different year. Each year had a caretaker. I saw my own face among them in photographs taped to the walls. Older versions, some smiling, some hollow, some terrified. I understood then. Caretakers did not die. They expired, used up by the witnessing. I fled the building and vomited on the sidewalk. When I returned home, the calendar was open to a new page, January 20th. My name now circled faintly, a warning ring. The notebook appeared beside it. Final phase. The rules were shorter now. Delay increases instability. Refusal multiplies fractures. Completion restores continuity. I heard the footsteps constantly now, even when I moved. They overlapped mine perfectly. That night, the city lost an hour. Clocks skipped forward, and no one noticed except me. I watched people blink and continue conversations mid-sentence. I realized the truth. I was no longer preventing collapse. I was postponing it. The calendar wanted closure, not for the city, for me. I sat on the floor across from it until dawn. I thought of every name I had written, every life that had slipped forward without consent. I thought of who I had been. Daniel Harper, a man who believed tomorrow was guaranteed. The pen felt heavier than it ever had. I picked it up. I circled my name. The footsteps stopped. The air relaxed. The city exhaled. The calendar turned the page. January 21st. Blank. No writing. No warnings. Just empty paper. I felt something leave me. Not my body. My urgency. My fear. My resistance. I understood the final truth as the sun rose. The calendar never predicted death. It prepared replacements, and I had finally agreed to become one. The world did not end after I circled my name. That was the first cruelty. Morning arrived on time. The sun rose. People went to work. Coffee brewed. Traffic moved. The calendar hung silently like it had always belonged there. January 21st. Blank. I felt lighter, but not relieved. Something essential had been removed, leaving a hollow efficiency in its place. I completed routines without thought. I responded to emails before they were sent. I knew what people would say before they spoke. Time no longer surprised me. The notebook stopped appearing. I did not need instructions anymore. I began to notice others like me, not caretakers yet, but candidates. People who moved half a second ahead of the world. People who answered questions that had not been asked. People whose eyes tracked moments before they happen. We avoided each other instinctively. That afternoon, I passed a man on the sidewalk who looked directly at me and nodded. Recognition. He had survived his 15th too. The calendar at home began to change again. Not dates, layers, thin, translucent pages stacked beneath the current one, each marked with the same blank 15th. I peeled one back, another lay beneath it. Endless. I understood the implication. Caretakers were not a line. They were a structure. Time required maintenance. I was now part of it. The footsteps never returned. There was nothing left to chase me. I was inside the mechanism. That night I dreamed without images, only pressure. The sensation of holding something vast together with bare hands. I woke with blood on my nose and a new certainty in my bones. The city would not survive many more cycles. Every correction strained the seams. Buildings leaned slightly where they had not before. Streets curved imperceptibly. Familiar routes took longer each day. People blamed fatigue. I knew better. The calendar appeared in places I did not put it. In my car, at work, in store windows. Always blank, always waiting. It no longer needed names. It needed alignment. I felt something tug at me from the future, a fracture too large to mend. For the first time since the beginning, I felt fear again, not of death, of failure. I returned to the abandoned building. The room of calendars was emptier now, entire shelves missing. Years gone, I found a single note pinned to the wall. Caretakers do not retire, they collapse. I saw what waited ahead. A convergence where all 15ths met. A day that could not be skipped. A day that required someone to stand alone and absorb it. I realized then why my name had been circled. Not to end me, to prepare me. I left the building knowing the truth. The calendar had one final use, and it was counting down again, this time toward me. The countdown did not announce itself. There was no shaking, no bleeding ink, no sudden fear. The calendar simply changed. January 22nd, a small mark appeared beneath the blank 15th page below it. Not a circle, not a name, a notch, like someone counting days on a prison wall. I understood then that the calendar was no longer warning me. It was measuring me. The city began to fail in subtle ways. Traffic lights stayed green too long. Elevators skipped floors. Phones rang without anyone on the other end. People laughed it off. I felt every error like a pulled thread. Caretakers were meant to absorb corrections quietly, to smooth fractures before they were noticed. I was failing. Sleep became impossible. When I closed my eyes, I saw dates overlapping like transparent film. 15th stacked on top of each other, pressing down. I woke one morning with a calendar page folded neatly on my chest. January 15th, blank. Warm. It felt alive. I returned to the abandoned building again. The room of calendars was almost empty now. Only a few stacks remained leaning against the walls like gravestones. I heard voices, not echoes, memories, caretakers arguing with themselves across years, some begging, some furious, some resigned, all ending the same way. Silence. I found a final door at the back of the room. Behind it was nothing but a single calendar mounted on bare concrete. No month, no year, just one date. 15th, circled deeply enough to tear the page. I knew what it meant. This was the convergence. The day all skipped days collapsed into one. A correction too large to distribute. Someone had to stand inside it. I left the building shaking. The calendar at home now showed January 23rd. Another notch. The footsteps returned. Not behind me, inside me. Every step I took echoed twice. I began to lose words mid-sentence, to forget what I was doing while doing it. Time was reclaiming its witness. That night, the sky darkened early. Fireworks exploded in the distance for a holiday I could not remember. The city was celebrating something. I stood before the calendar. The blank 15th page pulsed softly. I placed my hand against it. The paper was hot. I understood the final rule without reading it. Only a caretaker can end the count, and only by stepping fully into the day they were meant to survive. I did not write my name. I did not need to. The calendar already knew. I stopped trying to mark the days. Numbers had lost their meaning. What mattered now was pressure, a growing weight inside the hours that bent everything around it. The city was no longer hiding its fractures. People complained of missing mornings. Entire afternoons vanished without explanation. News anchors repeated the same sentences twice without realizing it. The countdown continued. Another notch appeared beneath the blank 15th. Then another. I felt each one like a blow. The calendar followed me everywhere. If I closed my eyes, I could still see it suspended behind my eyelids. Waiting, measuring, I returned to the streets to observe the damage. A bus sat stalled in the middle of an intersection. Passengers were frozen inside mid-movement. Outside, the bus traffic flowed around it, as if nothing were wrong. two versions of the same moment coexisted. Time was splitting. I walked past a storefront where a man argued with his reflection. He shouted that the mirror was late, that it was not keeping up. No one stopped to help. The calendar appeared in the reflection behind him. Blank 15th. Pulsing. I realized the truth then. The convergence was not a single day. It was spreading outward. Every skipped 15th was bleeding into the present, all at once. Caretakers were never meant to endure this stage. We were placeholders, bridges. Something far older needed a path through time, and caretakers softened the crossing. I heard voices again, not whispers, commands. Stand still, do not interfere, prepare the space. I recognized them, not past caretakers, future ones, those who would exist only if I failed. I stumbled home. The calendar was already open. The 15th page glowed faintly. No heat this time. Cold, inviting. I thought of the first day this began. The morning I saw my name circled and believed it meant death. I laughed. It had never been about dying. It was about becoming the point where time could fold. I stepped closer. The room stretched. The walls receded. For a moment I saw every calendar at once. Every circled date. Every name erased. I felt myself thinning. The notches stopped appearing. The calendar waited. I knew what came next. The step, not forward, not backward, into, and I understood that whatever emerged on the other side would still wear my face, but it would no longer be me. The moment I stepped into the convergence, the city disappeared. There was no sound, no color, no sense of direction. I was not falling or standing. I was being held inside something vast and patient. Time surrounded me like a liquid. I saw the 15th not as a day, but as a wound, a thin opening where moments bled into one another. Every skipped calendar page fed it. Every erased name widened it. I understood why it needed caretakers, not to control it, to slow it. I felt other presences near me, not bodies, impressions, the weight of people who had stood here before, each one stretched thinner than the last. They did not speak, they endured. Memories poured through me without permission. Birthdays that never finished, final phone calls that never connected, clocks frozen at different hours across different years. All of it pressed inward. I felt my sense of self begin to unravel. Names lost meaning. Daniel Harper became a sound without context. I reached for it desperately, afraid of what would happen if I let go. Something noticed. The convergence reacted. Pressure increased. I realized resistance was causing damage. The city could not absorb my fear. I had to yield. I loosened my grip on who I was. The pressure eased slightly. Images formed. I saw the first calendar, not paper, stone, etched into a wall long before months had names. Humans had learned to count time by watching what vanished. The 15th was never chosen. It emerged, a recurring absence. I saw caretakers across centuries stepping into the same space, wearing different faces, speaking different languages, all making the same mistake, holding on too tightly. I felt something reaching for me, not violent, curious. It was the mechanism itself. time seeking a stable anchor. I understood my role clearly now. I was not meant to stop the convergence. I was meant to become its boundary, to contain it inside a shape that could wear out. I allowed the last of my fear to dissolve. In its place, something else formed. Stillness. The pressure equalized. For the first time, the wound stopped widening. The city breathed. I remained, not alive, not gone, holding, waiting, until the next fracture began. Time passed differently once I became the boundary. I cannot tell you how long I remained inside the convergence. There were no days there, no nights, only pressure and release, like a slow breathing universe. But the city felt it. I sensed repairs rippling outward. Streets straightened, buildings settled. The fractures I had felt before sealed quietly, as if they had never been there. People resumed their lives, unaware that anything had been lost. That was the hardest part. I could see fragments of the world through the wound, moments bleeding inward. A child learning to read dates on a calendar, a woman circling a birthday, a man tearing off a page at the end of the year. Every act of counting brushed against me. I learned to hold without resisting. Whenever time strained, I absorbed it. Whenever a 15th threatened to open again, I tightened what remained of myself. It hurt less than before. Pain requires identity. Identity was fading. Daniel Harper was becoming a reference point instead of a person, a label attached to a function. I remembered my name the way one remembers a dream after waking, familiar but unreachable. Sometimes I felt other caretakers stirring, not near, elsewhere. Boundaries like me existed in other cities, other centuries. We did not communicate. We resonated, a quiet agreement to endure. Then something changed. A surge stronger than the others. Violent, urgent. I felt the calendar trying to reassert itself. Not locally, globally. Too many 15ths had been skipped. Too many corrections delayed. The mechanism strained. I understood what was happening. The world had grown dependent on caretakers. Time had forgotten how to close its own wounds. I braced myself. The surge slammed into me. For a moment, I thought I would tear apart. If I failed, everything would collapse back into raw chronology. Then I felt it. A release. Someone else had stepped forward. Another boundary forming, not replacing me, sharing the load. The pressure stabilized. Through the thinning membrane of time, I sensed a familiar hesitation, fear, guilt, the emotions of someone newly chosen. I wanted to warn them. I could not. All I could do was hold steady and hope they learned faster than I did. The calendar would find them. It always did. And the 15th would continue, not as a date, as a debt. The 15th began to appear in places where calendars did not belong. I sensed it before I saw it. A tightening in the fabric of time, sharp enough to cut. The boundaries were thinning faster now, and the world was running out of places to hide the strain. I watched a train station split into overlapping moments. One version crowded and loud, another silent and abandon. People moved between them without realizing they had crossed anything. The debt was coming due. I felt the other caretakers struggling, some weakened, some collapsing entirely. Each failure sent a shock through the system that I had to absorb. I was stretched thinner than ever. Through the wound, I saw the calendar reinvent itself. Dates burned into skin, numbers etched into glass, 15 written in condensation on windows that vanished when touched. Human memory was no longer enough. Time was marking bodies. Hospitals filled with patients complaining of the same symptom. They woke up missing a day, not forgotten, removed. Doctors could not explain it. Scans showed nothing wrong, but something fundamental was gone from those people, as if a portion of their timeline had been amputated. Each removal eased pressure briefly, then it returned stronger. I realized the calendar had escalated. It was no longer asking for caretakers. It was taking payment directly. I felt a tearing sensation unlike anything before. A boundary somewhere had failed completely. For a terrifying moment, raw chronology surged forward, unchecked. History tried to resume all at once. I held, barely. The pain was indescribable. I felt years press against me simultaneously. Births, deaths, wars, quiet afternoons, all competing for space. I understood then that I could not endure this forever. No caretaker could. We were stopgaps, not solutions. I searched for another answer within the wound, something older than the calendar, older than counting. I found it in silence. Before calendars, before 15ths, before names, there had been forgetting, not loss, release. Time healed itself by letting moments dissolve completely. The calendar prevented that. It preserved what should have faded. I made a decision. I loosened my grip. Not on the boundary, on the memories. I let entire skipped days dissolve instead of containing them. The pain lessened, the pressure shifted, the world trembled, then steadied. Somewhere people forgot entire afternoons, entire conversations, entire faces, but the wound narrowed. I knew the cost. This would not save everyone. It would erase them. Yet the alternative was collapse. The 15th dimmed. For now, I remained holding the boundary, knowing what I had chosen. To save time by letting lives fade, and knowing the calendar would never forgive me for it. After I allowed the days to dissolve, the world changed its posture. It no longer strained against the 15th. Instead, it sagged around the places where time had been erased. Gaps formed, not wounds, but hollows. People adapted faster than I expected. They laughed off missing memories. They filled gaps with assumptions. A forgotten afternoon became a quiet day. A missing face became someone they had not met. Human minds were built for repair. The calendar hated this. I felt its resistance immediately. A cold, sharp pressure pushing back against my decision. It wanted preservation, record, proof. For the first time, the calendar spoke clearly, not in words, in images. I saw libraries filled with dates, archives carved into bone and stone, civilizations rising around the idea that nothing should ever be lost. The 15th was their monument. I refused. I widened the hollows. I let entire sequences of cause and effect fade out like breath in cold air. The city stuttered, then stabilized. Cars reached destinations they no longer remembered starting from. Arguments ended without origins. Grief softened without names. Something vital was disappearing. History. I felt myself thinning even more quickly now. Letting go cost more than holding. The calendar retaliated. Every remaining caretaker screamed at once. Not aloud, in resonance. Boundaries failed across continents. Time lurched. I absorbed as much as I could, but I was no longer enough. I sensed the mechanism preparing a final correction, not local. Total, a reset that would wipe away every hollow and every caretaker with it. I understood the implication. The calendar would rather destroy time than let it forget. I searched desperately for leverage, something the calendar depended on. I found it in us. Calendars only existed because humans counted, named, remembered. Without witnesses, the 15th was meaningless. I made the last decision I would ever make. I let myself be forgotten. I released my name completely. Daniel Harper dissolved, not erased violently, allowed to fade. The calendar screamed. Its structure cracked. Dates lost sequence. The 15th dimmed until it was just another day. Time breathed freely. I vanished, but the world continued. Unburdened, unrecorded, alive. No one remembers me. That is how the world survives. I do not exist in records or photographs. My apartment belongs to someone else now. My name does not appear in databases. The space I once occupied closed seamlessly behind me. From the inside, forgetting feels like drifting without edges. I am still aware but not anchored. Thought exists without identity. Observation without presence. Time flows freely again. The 15th comes and goes unnoticed. Calendars turn pages like they were meant to. No dates bleed. No names burn. The city healed faster than I expected. People wake up rested. Conversations finish cleanly. The subtle dread that once clung to mornings is gone. History resumed its imperfect march, but forgetting leaves traces. Children sometimes ask why certain days feel lighter, why some memories do not connect, why entire afternoons feel like dreams. Parents laugh and change the subject. In quiet moments, I sense them. Other absences, places where names once were. I am not alone here. We do not speak. We do not need to. We are the cost. Occasionally I feel a tug, a curiosity. Someone somewhere staring too long at a calendar. Someone circling a date too hard. The pattern wants to begin again, but it is weaker now. Without witnesses, the calendar cannot take shape. It flickers, fails. I drift past homes where people celebrate the new year, unaware of how close the world came to stopping. Fireworks bloom and fade. Time keeps moving. That is the horror. Not that something almost ended everything, but that it can be forgotten. And if you are listening to this story now, if you felt something shift when the 15th passed, that means forgetting is not complete. It means the calendar is still trying to remember, and if it ever succeeds, it will start by writing your name. The story ends here. Thank you for watching and listening to the whole story. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to listen to the next stories.